Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody.
And joining us this week on the line, Cody Geiler.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, what's happening?
Man.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, it's been a whole year.
It's been, oh, wow, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is the new year.
Yeah.
And as we promised last week when Casey and I started breaking down the Rise of Skywalker, we're going to continue talking Rise of Skywalker the next few weeks with a guest. And Cody's back on our show. He's not really a guest. He's part of the show. But
Well, thanks for having
we don't
me
have to clean up
again.
things. I don't
of
care.
course.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff we want to get to first because, I mean, even though we don't have any new films coming,
Yeah. It's bleak.
and it is kind of I mean, does it feel? It feels a little vacant right now in Star Wars, unless you're totally deep diving into other stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll mention later about issue 2 of the Rise of Skywalker comic just dropped today.
Kylo comic?
Is that what I said? Yeah, the Rise of
It's
Kylo.
on call Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did I say the Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker? Oh, the Rise of Kylo Ren
Oh, yeah.
comic.
He is a Skywalker.
Yeah.
He is a Skywalker. The second issue just dropped today. I was actually reading that a little bit before we started rolling here.
I also bought it and read it, and it's great.
Oh, you did? Nice. Okay, well, see. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. And then I started Force Collector,
Okay.
the audio book.
Yeah.
Just in the first chapter right now.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting so far.
Yep.
You went through that when I
Yep.
read it, Case.
Yep.
So I'm behind on that one. Of course, in March comes the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker, which I am
I know.
thrilled for.
Yes.
Cannot wait for that. I'll be listening to that. Right, so I'm going to get through Force Collector really fast so I can get there. But the other things are really quick news droppings. Now, this isn't really officially been discussed or released by Lucasfilm, but apparently the Clone Wars is returning February 17th.
Right. Yes.
I guess some people have seen it advertised on some different sites, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Like Disney Plus type. Suppose that's the rumor.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyways. Who knows?
so. I mean, we knew it was February,
Yeah.
but that is like, I'm stoked. That's like the next thing we're getting. I mean, the thing about it is I did forget to mention that. I mean, Star Wars Resistance is actually still going on, but I'm behind on that.
Yep.
Cody, are you watching that?
started.
Gonna be honest, I totally forgot that show was still going on.
Yep. Oh, well, I haven't seen any of this
Season?
second season. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the first 3 episodes, I
Yeah.
think, and then it was in November when all this
I know,
game
it's-
dropped.
Too busy.
Mandalorian came out.
Yeah.
You know, I was into Resistance Reborn. I was just I
Yeah.
couldn't follow it. But I am going to go back and start watching that. Although because Clone Wars is coming back, I'm tempted to. I really want to go back and just watch a bunch of episodes of Clone
Yeah.
Wars before this comes back.
Yep.
Now we talked about this, Cody, earlier today that binging versus week to week.
Yeah,
And I want the Clone War. I want it all right away, but I'm pretty sure they're going to release it one week.
They
to
gotta slowly, milk it.
it's interesting because like I didn't watch Clone Wars when it was airing, so I binged it just because it was already available. So my experience with Clone Wars is in the binging mode because I like even when the Netflix season dropped all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did.
So that's the most recent structure, but that was also Netflix, and it was a different sort of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I would love to binge it as well, but I'm not. Have they announced for sure if it's week to week?
I don't think so.
They haven't announced for sure. No, I'm just going
Okay.
based on all the other shows that are on that. All the new shows that are getting released on there are all been week to week. They haven't been released all at once. So
Correct.
So I'm assuming, and that'll stretch it out too. That'll keep someone's subscription for a long time, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
apparently
true.
they lost a bunch when Mandalorian finale aired. I don't know the exact number, but apparently some subscriptions were lost. Maybe they'll come back for for Clone Wars, because Clone Wars is going to be 12 episodes, so that's 12 more
That'll
weeks.
Take you almost to Mandalorian season 2. You'll be close.
Almost. I mean, it does get you possibly till
into summer,
to
right?
Solo getting released on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
When is Solo coming?
I think June,
Mm-hmm.
May or June, something like that. It's
summer.
getting dropped on Disney Plus. Yep. Okay, so and then of course the rumor floating around right now, big discussions on what the next films are going to be. Mm-hmm. Articles are coming out now that I think Making Star Wars made this announcement on their site that the new the High Republic era is what they're calling it. That the films will be centered around, which roughly they're saying it's going to take place about 400 years before Episode 1. Mm-hmm. So that would be in the middle of this whole Republic era. The 1,000 years of the Republic era that takes place after what they claim is the end of the Sith to the Phantom Menace being revealed. Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think about that era? Instead of because obviously the rumors going around when Benioff and Weiss were on it was that we're going to get kind of Old Republic era. So this is kind of that, but maybe not as far.
This feels like this is what they were doing, possibly, but just different team behind it. But I mean, I like it. I mean, I wish it was older, but it'll still be cool. It's set apart far enough, hopefully, to where it won't feel like it's predictable stories. Hopefully. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm obviously interested in Star Wars. I'm gonna watch pretty much any movie they make that's Star Wars. But the timeline, I also sort of thought, like you were saying, Dave, that when they had mentioned the Game of Thrones guys working on it, they had mentioned Old Republic getting thrown around. I think we all kind of assumed this would be like thousands of years, because that's actually Old Republic would have to be thousands of years. This timeline is more in that time of peace in the Republic and the galaxy, as far as we know. Now, since then, we've learned that the galaxy is obviously much larger. The unknown regions. We're learning more about the unknown regions, and so I think there's ways to tell these stories, but they do put themselves in a little bit of they have to work around obviously Yoda's character and what we discussed briefly. What does the Jedi Council know during this time about the dark side and the Sith, and can they be in the movie, and how would they get around that? But I'm sure that they have thought about that and will tell a story that would be exciting and involve the dark side. So
yeah, I mean, I truly feel like I still truly feel like that they still want to make some kind of connection, even though it's not the Skywalkers,
right?
So obviously the character that's alive at this point is Yoda still. So I could not imagine they wouldn't do Yoda, especially when it's got to be centered around Jedi.
I mean, has no one mentioned the possibility of Maz being in this also?
I mean, I haven't, but that's a very good guess too.
Love interest there, Yoda and Maz.
Totally.
Hey, here we go. Like Obi-Wan and Satine thing.
I mean, who knows? I mean, Yaddle would still be alive.
Love Triangle,
right?
Yeah, possibly.
That's the story right there.
It's a rom-com,
Three's Company kind of thing. But no, I think I think they'll have some familiarity with it. Maybe I don't think Yoda would necessarily be on the Jedi Council. Possibly he could be a Jedi Knight. And be out there,
Yeah.
He won't be born yet. I was about to say Dooku was his apprentice, but that was way earlier.
Yeah, he could be Master, just not Grandmaster. Who knows?
Yeah, we don't know how long he's been Grandmaster. So I do think Yoda, and there was people. I remember I was seeing a thread on Twitter about people talking about whether they loved more, Puppet Yoda or CG Yoda.
Yeah,
I'm totally on the side of the fence of CG Yoda.
I mean, nowadays you can't. Yeah, I mean, definitely it would be. It'd be perfect. I mean, but also puppetry is pretty good too nowadays. Much better now. So who knows?
A puppet can't necessarily do a lightsaber fight.
You can't. The action stuff would have to be CG, which I mean, I'm almost confident in either one at this point. Definitely confident if it was CG.
The lightsaber wielding Yoda from Attack of the Clones was the coolest thing when I saw Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
I mean, like being, young-ish during that time, I would love to see stuff like that again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you only have to assume that he is potentially even more mobile and acrobatic.
Yeah.
So
true.
I would go CG as well, Dave. I mean, I don't know. I think it's interesting. A lot of people have split feelings on the Yoda that was the puppet in Last Jedi.
Yes.
So I read or heard an interesting podcast where somebody mentioned that there was actually a discrepancy with the Yoda face mold, that there was a lip portion that was actually added during the shooting of Empire Strikes Back for his, I think, upper lip, like an add-on to the mold, and that apparently, according to this person, Paul Bateman, I believe, the lip portion wasn't used in Last Jedi, and that's why it looked weird to some people, which I had no idea.
I think the overall looked different, but
Yeah.
I thought the CG version looked more like Empire Strikes Back than Last Jedi, but that's a whole nother discussion. So that, we'll obviously monitor that and talk more about that as details get revealed. Now, apparently there are announcements coming. Again, that's another rumor that there are going to be a bunch of announcements from Lucasfilm about who is going to be working on these films.
Yeah.
Now, another thing too, and I don't remember where I saw this, but there was a discussion, or there was an article about the discussions when they were talking about these, Star Wars stories, like what we got from Rogue One and from Solo. That do you remember? I mean, you remember this when we were introduced to Rogue One the very first time. Actually, I don't know. Was that a celebration that you went to when they?
I didn't go.
That was Anaheim, wasn't it?
I saw the.
Was that Anaheim?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last time celebration was at Anaheim, which was 2015. It was the year Force Awakens came out. They actually had a panel for Rogue One because they didn't have. You didn't know who was going to act in it. It was simply they showed some concept art,
right,
and then they showed a real quick teaser, but there was nothing that was going to be in the movie. It was basically just the reveal that the Death Star was in the skyline. It was like this forest planet, and these TIE fighters are flying around, and you kind of panned up, and there it was. It was pretty incredible. But if you remember correctly, when the logo came up for that, it was Rogue One, but it was like Star Wars anthology.
Yeah.
Remember, it was the anthology films.
Right.
It wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't later until they changed it to a Star Wars story. But still, the intent, I think, was there. And I think maybe so it was more so with the anthology films that these individual films were supposed to have some kind of connection through line. And we talked about this in our show here, that we felt like they should have been more connected.
Absolutely.
So maybe, and maybe that's where they kind of had the disconnect with Solo and Rogue One, even though Rogue One, the hard part about that is it is such a prequel to a Skywalker film, New Hope, that how do you connect that and all that stuff. So anyway, so the thought is the thought, apparently the rumor now is that the next group of films from now on, now that we're away from the episodic, is that, I'm doing air quotes here, that they're going to be kind of Marvelizing these next films, that they're not necessarily going to be sequels of each other, but they're going to be connected in a way that they're building towards a bigger storyline, almost like a Avengers kind of thing, right? I don't know. I think that works. I don't know why they wouldn't do that. I mean, you should connect them in a way, but still be able to maybe watch them individually, No,
I think that totally works. I guess they would all be one-offs, because even Marvel, you had your trilogies within the whole phases of Marvel, but I guess this is even more so. Each one is a one-off, but hopefully that would mean characters would make cameos or appearances in the other movies as well. But it's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah.
Cody, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's the way to go. I mean, obviously, if you're Disney, you're probably looking at the success that Marvel's had and Kevin Feige, and I don't know if he's got any connection to this High Republic project. But I mean, I would just assume that this has got to be the way into the future, because if they go away from the trilogy model, then this feels like the next best thing. Which I know Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy have had some different interviews where they've said they may or may not do trilogies, but then this gives them the opportunity to, like, Rian Johnson could make a movie that stands alone by itself, but also utilizes a character or two, or some characters, or no characters, and then you can have another director come and do the sort of, I'm doing air quotes, the team up movie, you know, which is like the Captain America Civil War or the Avengers movies. And so those movies can have a distinct style that's its own. So, you know, the directors can then start to put their own flair on individual movies. So, I mean, I kind of had said they could do this for like a solo sequel. I don't know they ever would, because obviously we know that Han and Obi-Wan should not have met, and Obi-Wan and Maul already have a storied history in canon. But around that timeline, you have Obi-Wan, Maul, Han, Chewie, Jabba, all you know, converging in the Outer Rim areas. So that would only make sense if you weren't a Star Wars fan. You would put all those characters in a movie together because they're all cool, you know.
Right.
So with new characters, I think they can obviously do it because they're not
not beholden
stuck
to any specific timeline at all. I mean, and then having someone like Yoda would be, I think, a great nostalgic still element to connect it to the movies that we know. So but surrounding him with brand new characters would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think about I hate to say it, but it's like all new merchandise and toys, all new characters.
Totally.
It's just all going to be new stuff, which is going to be pretty incredible, because you know it's all been new in the sequel era right now, but you know, but you're still some familiar. I mean, the Falcon has always been around, you know, X-wings and all this stuff. But we're talking about, I mean, everything is going to be.
It's going to be new, but it can't feel more high tech.
No,
they have to go backwards in their technology, but still fresh designs, fresh looks. I feel like in this article that came out, I think there was even talks about how it would look and feel, but I can't remember specifically. But just that it would basically feel different, not so worn down. And
well, that's a whole. I think that's a good conversation to have later about technology, because I think what we've seen, I think the technology just is maintained. I mean, everything is still just buttons and you know, 2D screens, and I think that's just been the technology, and it works. I was actually thinking about that the other day, like in our world, like, you know, we don't really need. I mean, you just need something to tell you what it's doing. You don't really, like, when they look at a screen at that, it's telling you exactly what the information you need. It really doesn't depend on what it looks like, right? I mean, we want to make things look all fancy in 3D and all that stuff. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It works in Star Wars.
Everything needs to look like Pong,
and then that makes it. And honestly, that makes it timeless, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't really tell if it's 1,000 years ago or if it's 1,000 years in the future.
Yeah, they just can't add something like light speed tracking or something that would introduce in the past. It's like, well, if that existed in the current timeline, then it would make the story easier. You know, that kind of a thing. Like a lightsaber that shoots lasers also. I don't know. You know, something weird like that.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Or ships, like small individual ships with light speed. You know, who knows? Who knows how it'll, maybe light speed won't exist. I don't know. Won't exist at this time period. I don't know. That'd be interesting. Like the galaxy is much smaller 400 years ago, and there was like a great expansion of exploration. Who knows? That'd be kind of cool. Although we know the rumors that, you know, the unknown regions plays into this story. So I do like the idea that it's, you know, even maybe at this point you have the outer rim still in the unknown regions, but the outer rim is even more chaotic because even more primitive than what we know of now, and something like that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. You could. There's a lot of planets that you could be discovering.
Yeah, sure.
That we already know of, you know, kind of thing. So that'd be neat.
That'd be kind of cool.
So obviously a lot to talk about that as we go. Now, obviously, also we apparently, if it still holds true, we're not getting a movie until December of 2022.
Right.
So a full 2.5 years from now.
If they're holding to that, they need to start this summer.
Well, exactly. I think that's what is going to get fast tracked. One thing. So another thing too, I wanted to bring up. This came from. This is actually a fun. We've had a long time listener from our show from the very beginning. His name's CJ Mitchell. That's been listening to us from the beginning, and he tweeted at us. I was glad to hear from him a few days ago, but he mentioned he tweeted us at an article, and it was stuff that I wanted to bring it up here because it's stuff that we've been talking about. But he talked about it. He's like, I'm sure they're going to. He goes, I'm sure this will be discussed in the next episode, but I don't think this is true at all. Wondering what you can find out. This is the article that talks about the unshot or apparently shot footage that did not make it into the film, which is, the non-kiss
and bid on Tatooine, like that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, and then of course the Force Ghost being shot, not used, and Disney made the decision, and now the JJ cut. This is right.
So all the conspiracy stuff. Yeah,
all the conspiracy stuff. So, I did want to mention it, and thanks again, CJ, for sending that to us. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it at work for a while now. It's like
we should have microphones on at work.
I know, right?
Really sad.
Set the phone down and just record. I mean, I don't want to belabor it, but it's like, and Cody, you just said it. Like the ending is what it is, and it's really good. At first I was a little disappointed that we didn't see Force Ghosts, and of course when I hear something like that where they shot them but they decided not to use them and they just used the voices, I'm like, well, that sucks. I would have liked to see that. But then as I thought about it, like in the context of how the film went and the shots, it's like I don't think I would have actually liked to see them at that point. How do you show them while she's laying there? It's like, are they appearing over her, like looking down on her?
Like a Knight's Tale when he's knocked out and you have all the characters looking over.
Exactly. Like I was starting to think of how do you even do that? So I do like the voices because then it also, and again, this is a whole other controversy, but like, people are questioning because you hear their voice, that means they're all dead. Well, there's rumors that is Ahsoka really dead?
I think people are just trying to force it.
Well, did you see the tweet by Filoni about that?
No. Oh gosh, I'm sure.
Yeah, so
Filoni, like his whole like.
Well, he tweeted a picture.
His vagueness.
He tweeted a picture of
Gandalf.
He sketched a picture of Gandalf standing next to Ahsoka, and Gandalf's little air bubble quote said, "Yeah, they thought I was dead too."
Okay.
So,
but did Gandalf communicate through cosmic realm?
But did he physically come back, or did he just come back?
He came
physically
back. But like, I never read the book, so I don't know if he was even truly dead in the first place.
Right.
Or did he die and then he actually got resurrected? So I don't know that much detail.
I think that's what it was implied in the movie, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Gosh,
anyway,
I don't even know.
We're going down the wrong road here, but
wrong franchise.
But
inside the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but I think for me, I wanted to see. Now I'm thinking. I wanted to see Anakin, and I wanted to see Ben as Force Ghost at the end.
Yeah, all the Skywalkers, because I think that would have tied in all three trilogies. That would have made a nice little ending. So, as far as that goes, that's that's the only thing I wish I was. But again, and this was a few days ago, but now I think it's coming out now. It's kind of contradicting itself now that people are saying, creators are saying that no, none of that stuff was shot. What was intended to be in there is in there. I mean, there was obviously extra footage, but not necessarily relevant to the story of the ending. So I don't know where you guys are on that, but that's kind of where we've been discussing, I think, right? Yeah, I'm fine with we didn't see them. I just thought, well, when I heard the voices, like, oh, of course they did voices because it's just cheaper to have them record
and easier
in a booth, than shoot
no matter
them.
where they are.
But I mean, it's like we've in all of Star Wars, even counting the shows, we've heard voices in the Force way more than we've actually seen Force spirits. So it just makes more sense to hear. I mean, I don't know. It's just I feel like it's just talking about canon, it's probably just easier to talk through the Force than it is to reveal yourself. But and I was totally fine with that. And I don't know. I don't necessarily believe the conspiracy theories about extra stuff that was shot. I mean, I love thinking that there was a version out there where Ben Solo lives, and he survives, and it's him and Rey on Tatooine. Although I just don't see that as being possible. But yeah, that'd be cool. I would definitely. If it exists, then by golly, they need to make that canon and re-edit the movie. Because if it exists and we don't have it, like what in the world? That's what everybody wants. So, yeah.
Cody, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of like I'm with you guys. I'm with Casey. I think on the I feel like there's some stuff that they shot, and like you mentioned, Dave, there's definitely more footage that wasn't used. Every movie has this. Every project that you shoot has things that don't make the cutting room floor. Now, the editor of the movie of Rise of Skywalker has since then come out and talked about some of this stuff specifically. Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly where the article is, but I think it originated from a podcast. So you can always Google that and check that out to read more about it. But I think she even goes on to say there were some more things about Palpatine in the beginning of the movie that weren't included. But I don't think there was ever this JJ cut. Right. The crazy rumors that the movie got hijacked from him in the edit by the studio, by Disney, or Kathleen Kennedy. I don't think that really exists. I'm sure, like all movies that have a lot of money going into them and a lot of people making decisions, there were a lot of opinions in the editing room. So who knows if any of this came from actual conversations. But I don't think that the Force Ghosts were ever realized. Personally, am a little bit bummed that we never saw Hayden Christensen as Anakin. Mm-hmm. I think going into the movie, it was kind of like on my checklist of like, not like this has to happen, but like would really love to see this and make it relevant. But I'm glad they had his voice and the other Force Ghost voice. And I think it makes me kind of want to go back and watch the Rebels episode of the World Between Worlds to see if any of those voices align, or I'd just be really curious to see like how much the canon of the Force Ghost voice talking, if you play them all together, do you get this different sort of enlightened experience? I don't know. trying to learn to become one with the Force. Yeah. Still haven't figured it out yet. But yeah.
So that's, I mean, there was another rumor I read that they were going to include a couple of extended scenes and re-release the film, and like Endgame and stuff like that. I mean, I actually think that there could be truth to that, but again, it's the extended scenes that don't really change the story at all. Like we're talking about, there were some more shots on Endor, apparently the forest moon of Endor with the Ewoks. There was more like you said, Cody, there was more in the beginning about Palpatine. I think there was more there's more on the base, the Rebel base, them talking about stuff. Like there was actually a lot more Rose, apparently, because, there was a big argument about Rose is only in it for like a minute something. Yeah. But apparently they didn't really they couldn't make the scenes work too well because she was with Leia a lot. And just a lot of it didn't really work out. Yeah. At least, again, that's what I was reading. But you could probably drop a couple more things like that go in there. But anyway, I don't think, though, I do think maybe not this soon. I don't see, because I think Endgame, they did that like at Christmas time, right?
I can't remember.
Or towards the holidays, I think, was when they re-released it to get just another boost, which added to their billions of dollars that they made for it. But I can see them trying to just scrape as much more money as they can out of this by re-releasing it, with extra footage to make people go. I mean, I know that's kind of a money grab play, but I do think that that's possible, and I don't see why not. I mean, if people are willing to do it, and I mean, I'm raising my hand. I'll do it.
Yeah, sure.
So,
I mean, if they want to make the most money, you do what Casey said, and you release the version where we're talking spoilers, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, you release the version where Ben lives, and you would make another billion probably.
Yeah,
but there's no way you can do that. They would no way they would retcon their own film.
Yeah, they won't do it.
You just
do it, you cowards.
You just reverse that clip and digitally add him at the end. You know, there you go.
There you go.
He's alive.
I'm sure. Again, we'll talk more about that as news comes out more about that stuff. But last thing I'll talk about here before we dive into Rise of Skywalker, real quick. A comment came through our on YouTube. I don't know if I told you about this case. Someone thankfully was watching our Force Awakens commentary.
Whoa, cool.
Was that you, Cody? That was you. No, yeah, that was you, Cody, right?
Yeah.
It was the three of us. Perfect. So somebody sent us a comment on there saying all it was 59:10. It pointed out the exact time of the video, and it said something like "right on Snoke," and so I got to it, and it was me. I will say, I said right at 59:10 on that commentary, I said, I would not be surprised if Snoke was a failed Palpatine clone.
Oh, yeah. No, we've definitely talked about that.
We were I don't remember saying that, though, really.
I remember saying in the commentary, but I remember us just talking about it, about that as a possibility, just because of how he looks.
Yes.
So he just looks like a failed clone.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether Palpatine or Plagueis or something.
And then I did actually say, I did later on, as we discussed a little bit more, I said, also, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Vader clone. Because remember, we talked about him being scarred like that, possibly. And
now,
like
the thing we don't know is actually if he's a failed clone of Palpatine or not.
No,
that's the only thing.
That we don't know, but it's insinuated a little bit like that. But
sure. No, very cool.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So, Rise of Skywalker. Let's dive into some more topics here. Last week, Casey and I started this whole thing, and some of the topics we had gone over last week were about Leia, how she was used in the film. Were we satisfied by that? Of course, the Rey Palpatine reveal, Luke, and then the overall kind of the Sith idea.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about those things. Now, Cody, we'll get into kind of your overall here at some point here, but I want to just go right down to some of the topics that we have listed here that we want to talk into, and one that's kind of right up your alley, I'm sure, because we've talked about it a lot, but let's talk about Kylo Ren. Let's talk about Ben Solo.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so this whole trilogy obviously is about Rey and Ben. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Kylo getting, each movie, whether or not, he's going to be turning back, is the conflict in him. We see in the first film, the Rise, the Force Awakens, him making the ultimate decision at that point to actually kill his father instead of turning back to the light. In the second film, Last Jedi, he's got a chance to kill his mother, doesn't do it, but is faced with the fact that she technically dies in a sense, but then she Mary Poppins back and survives. But that has affected him also throughout, as you see going into the Rise of Skywalker. So, just overall, let's just talk about were you satisfied? I mean, we just briefly talked about there about what you guys wanted to see at the end, but as the film is now, are you good with the overall storyline that has happened to Kylo / Ben Solo? Cody, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd have to say yes. I mean, they brought my boy home. It's like, I mean, it really was like going into the movie. We had talked about our hopes and sort of dreams. Obviously, if Ben lived and became this sort of wayward Jedi, that would be an excellent sort of fan fiction that I'm sure somebody will write, and I'll read it. But I know, I think it was great. I think it was done to where it felt like the heart of Star Wars, which kind of goes a little bit into what I thought of the movie, that no matter what you've done in the past, there's always still good in someone or in everyone. And I feel like Kylo / Ben was a great example of it. They were able to utilize Carrie Fisher, her dialogue, and the scene that she was able to communicate with Ben which I thought was done really tastefully. And then Rey had the moment where she sort of gets to, she heals them and gets to kind of pull him back a little bit with Leia's help. But yet it's still Ben making the decision himself, which the only part that's unclear is, is he seeing Han through just his own memory, as it mentions in the movie, or does Leia have a part to play in all of that? But I just thought that was really well done, that how it differs from Return of the Jedi is that Kylo/Ben has this moment of becoming Ben again, with the help of the people he loves, but ultimately making the decision on his own. And then obviously when he comes back to save the day, I mean, acting like little Han Jr., shrugging at the Knights of Ren and everything. I mean, that's just like fan service in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mean that as a slight at all. I mean it in a good way. So,
yeah. I mean, the movie as a whole, especially with Ben's story, it did achieve what I was hoping it would. That also goes along with what happened with Rey. It's just it ended in a very optimistic way, to where it kind of puts the galaxy of sorts in a good place moving forward. So like Ben, choosing the light side, kind of giving hope that there's still light in people and all of that, and then helping Rey save the day as well. It's all, I mean, it's what Star Wars is. It's that redemption. And that's why I feel like this movie, in a way, more than any other of the Star Wars movies, tells that story of redemption the best, because it's just it's the ultimate redemption, and both your main characters, both have a redeeming quality in this movie. So I'm very happy with how they showed that through Ben Solo. And yeah, it's just like I knew I would like it if it happened, and now that I saw it, it's like I love it, and I wish there was more. It's like it just stinks. It's bittersweet. It's so bittersweet that we won't get more in terms of after chronologically after this story. But I'm just counting down the days until they announce a Ben Solo prequel series, animated or in a book. I'll take anything. They're the comic right now, so that's kind of wetting my whistle for now. But yeah, I want a show.
Bittersweet was a really good word for Ben's end, because it like you're just saying, it's so exciting to finally see him be the Skywalker that we hoped he could be. And then like it's sort of the head and heart moment where like my heart wanted him to survive and not disappear. And that's maybe the one sort of critique I'd have, is that he kind of dies suddenly after a kiss, and then he disappears, which we assume means he could be a Force ghost. And then the only thing I think that I'm disappointed with is that we don't see him materialize as a Force ghost at the end of the movie, which kind of goes into, Dave, what your wish was, is that we saw more Skywalkers at the end appearing to Rey. So that's maybe one sort of moment where I have like a little bit of criticism, but it's a little bit of the head versus heart, where I know Ben had to sacrifice himself to do that ultimate sacrifice to save Rey, and I think that was a good decision. But selfishly, I wanted to see more Ben content.
I know.
When did Cody? You might have seen this, the most recent out of the three of us. When did Leia actually die? Like, when did her
disappear?
hand? No, when did her hand like fall? Did that happen when he got stabbed by the lightsaber?
It was on Kef Bir. Yeah, it was on
like right when he got stabbed by the lightsaber.
Geez, you're talking seconds now. I don't know if it was right before that or right after that. I can't.
I feel like it happened like right when he got stabbed.
Yeah,
she her hand fell.
Well, no. Yeah, because her hand fell, and then Rey, because Rey stabbed. Yeah, because Rey felt Leia's passing. Yeah, after she saved stabbed him. Yeah.
So that's where it kind of that's why I was just saying that, because that makes me lean more towards Han truly being a memory, and not something Leia. Because I've heard that a lot on the internet, is that that's Leia projecting Han to, and I don't think that happened. I think that he's struggling. He's always struggled. I mean, he's had this struggle about killing Han ever since it happened, and he's basically reliving that scene again on there, and he's making the decision he should have made in The Force Awakens is what I'm getting out of that scene. Now,
totally,
yeah,
I agree.
Do you feel like when he's so what do you think? What do you think he was saying to Han before Han says, "I know"?
No, I love you.
Oh yeah. He's like
Dad,
blubbering, and he gets out the words "Dad," and it's like it's almost like you can almost. I mean, I don't know if you can. I'd probably have to watch the movie again and really pay attention. It's almost like you can read him start to say "I love" and like stop.
Yeah,
or like maybe he doesn't even
words.
get the words out at all. But I think it's got to be "Dad, I love you" or "Dad, I'm sorry." It's one of those.
I'm sorry is the one I think. I thought
the words mean probably the same thing.
Yeah,
it's that he does love him.
Yeah.
And he's basically apologizing in that moment.
Exactly. That's exactly
which is it's a great way for him to sort of atone for, his wrongdoing. Which I know a lot of people wanted to see Kylo sort of either pay or because he killed Han. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, technically he did was dealt a fatal blow, so he kind of had it. He kind of got his penance of death, but then Rey decided to heal him. So, he did get the ending that a villain would get in a story in terms of being killed. So Kylo was killed by Rey, but also Rey saved him and brought Ben back. So, yeah, so Kylo did get his what was just.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, I was still, and I'm still kind of, no matter how much I do love the shot of Ben and Rey standing next to each other with lightsabers.
Oh, gosh,
I think that was an incredible shot. It really got me excited. I was still, and I was satisfied at the end. I felt like Ben had to die. I mean, I just, no matter how many times people could say, "Oh, he could be redeemed and all is forgiven," and it's like he would go back into society or whatever. It's like I don't know. It's hard to imagine someone like him that has been he destroyed the government basically, Hazian Prime and all. I mean, it's like I don't know. But that's again that's it's fantasy storytelling in the sense there, but the fact that he does die, I mean, it fits well with basically what happened with Vader and Anakin, and I think there's some truth to that, to where when you are redeemed, that basically takes the toll out of you, and you do die from that. Like, you don't survive from coming back from the dark side. Like that's. I either I read that or I remember Lucas talking about that no matter what Vader did at the end of Return of the Jedi, he was going to die. I mean, that was part of the redemption part.
Interesting.
Your comment about Leia and her timing is also, I feel like, relevant to this, because I think Casey's right. I think it's when her hand falls, when you would quote unquote say that she's either gone or unconscious, is when Ben gets stabbed. But I would assume that maybe Leia gave some of her life force to Ben, because the timing of her disappearing, is it not right before or after Ben does?
I think it's right at the same time, I think.
So I would have to assume that Leia's holding on just long enough to keep Ben maybe alive. Maybe Rey didn't fully heal him because it would have taken all of her life force, or whatever we're calling this healing thing. So I don't know. Maybe Leia was keeping him alive just for that, and he was never going to make it.
My only thing is when she apparently passes. This is before they go. Obviously before all the whole thing happens on Exegol. They cover her up.
Yeah,
I mean that you don't do that unless you're.
Well, she's dead, but she's just kind of like in limbo. She's in.
Purgatory. Yes, I guess that's right. I mean, at that point, I guess
she hasn't passed. Yeah. She hasn't become one with the Force yet.
Yeah, it's something somehow that had to be triggered when
Yeah.
when he dies, I guess.
Because, I mean, it's like Qui-Gon communicating through the Force, and he wasn't one with the Force yet. So he was just still communicating in some
Well, it could
kind
be.
of
It
other
could be
state.
that she had to. Yeah, the only way he was gonna, the only way that was gonna happen with him is she had to pull him with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one thing that I've been thinking is that she pulls him into the cosmic force, but still that means he would be one with the Force, technically.
Yeah.
I think Ben, in the exact same way Vader, is plenty deserving of enlightenment or becoming a Force ghost same way Vader did. So I kind of disagree on that, but if that were the answer, I wouldn't be mad about it.
Right. Yeah.
And then so a couple other characters that are pretty important, obviously Poe and Finn to this trilogy. I don't know. I think their storylines were, and of course this is the big argument that people are having with The Last Jedi, is I think their storylines in The Last Jedi were pretty dull and unmemorable. Some people argue that there's good character development. I thought that this movie was better in the sense of and true to what JJ was talking about at the beginning, which is I'm going to put these guys together in an adventure, like they're going to be stuck together.
Yeah,
and I did like that a lot because as I rewatched The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, I mean, it's true. They're never together. They're rarely together. It's either Poe and Finn, or The Force Awakens was more Poe and Rey.
Yeah.
And then, because Rey had not even apparently met Poe yet.
Yeah.
Last Jedi comes, and then it's mainly Poe and Finn, and Rey's off on her own, right? And then this movie, they finally are in an adventure together, and then where they go to Pisana and they Exegol and all that stuff, or not Exegol, Kef Burr. So I did like that, but overall, I don't know if they're. I mean, we learn more things about Finn. I mean, obviously, we actually learned that he's Force sensitive. Poe, he grows as a leader. I mean, he has to because Leia passes, and he has to become general and all this stuff. But I don't know I don't know how much different. I'd have to really think about it. I don't know how much different those characters are in this movie as opposed to when we were introduced to them in The Force Awakens.
I mean, Poe's more than just a hothead. I mean, there's definite change there, but you can, argue or debate about how much change it is. I mean, yeah, they're definitely not as round as Rey is in terms of their character, but I mean, Finn has been my least favorite character of this whole trilogy. I mean, even I think his story in Rise of Skywalker has been the best for him. I think all of them have had their best stories. Poe's had his best story. But still, I wasn't too happy or excited about Finn's character, even with Rise of Skywalker, even though it was the best. But still, Poe was good. I mean, I liked his story in Last Jedi enough. I liked his arc, at least, in Last Jedi, because I really liked the idea of a main character just doing something that was plain wrong, even though it could have been avoided. But what Poe did was wrong, but he definitely learned his lesson. And in this one, he not necessarily learns a lesson, but he more so just grows more mature. But no, I definitely see a change from Force Awakens, but not as much of a change as Rey.
Yeah, because go ahead, Cody.
Well, I was just gonna sort of follow up with that with I feel like with Poe, he may have grown the most because I mean I don't know if it's mostly common knowledge. His character was supposed to die in Force Awakens when the TIE crashed, and then Oscar Isaac is too good, and then they had more time when Harrison Ford broke his leg, and they wrote Poe into the movie. So all that being said, I like that happened. I think that Rian Johnson gave Poe a pretty good arc with sort of him, not knowing what a true hero is, and Leia kind of slapping around literally and figuratively, and then him learning through example, the Holdo maneuver. In this movie, I don't think that Poe grows quite as much, whereas he kind of gets to this point where he has sort of like little hope for the galaxy to rise up, and then Zori and some other people Lando try to affirm him in this, and then at the end he finally sees the rest of the galaxy sort of coming to his aid, whereas Finn, I love the force sensitive element, but on a sort of is he a flat or a round character? The only thing this movie really gives for him is maybe that mystery of where he could have come from. The scenes with him and Janna, I feel like I don't know that you need, to be totally honest. But yeah, I know that's interesting. I think you were dead on though with the group dynamic is by far my favorite of the three movies, and I think it struck true to the tone of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Whereas that's why I feel like this movie was so fun and felt like that adventure, is they really got those group dynamics where I loved the scenes where, where it opens and, they're on the Falcon and, they're playing that hollow chess with Chewie, and then Poe and Rey are arguing about the Falcon being burned and BB-8 being broken. It's like those sort of heightened conflict with the group was just so much fun to watch. I just loved it.
Yeah, and here's the thing about my reasoning though is when I look at Finn and Poe particularly, I think back to the original trilogy when you look at our three main characters there, Han, Luke, and Leia, right? And maybe because more time passes between, A New Hope to Return of the Jedi, you have 4 years. So you have more time that the character, more situations and experiences that the characters apparently experience that translate into what the actors are going through in that particular film. Here, you have two movies that happen back to back, basically, and then you have this movie that only takes a year later, right? So. So when I look at that, I look at, okay, how is their mindset in the first two movies? Because it's basically, there's hardly any development, in my opinion, there because it's so short. But then you have this year gap, right? What have they learned and experienced to kind of start changing them? Because I look at A New Hope, and particularly I look at like Han, and I think that's what makes Han Solo such a great character is he is not the same character when Return of the Jedi, when he finally gets out of that carbonite. I mean, he is a different person. Like what he's gone through and changing from being that smuggler to not caring about the galaxy and not caring about anybody. And now he's a general leading a battalion to go destroy this deflector shield, right? I mean, it's like, you just don't. And then his compassion, obviously, for Leia, right? Luke, obviously, some whiny kid on Tatooine to a Jedi. Just the way he carries himself in Return of the Jedi. And then Leia probably, as far as demeanor goes and mindset, I don't think she changes as much. She just gets more mature, I think, right? But she's still...
Leia only learns that she's force sensitive in 6. I feel like that's the only information. Kind of similar to Finn, honestly, when you think about it.
Yeah. Very similar. So, but when I look at like Poe, the way he acts and his demeanor and his mindset, because even though I hear the arguments of, he learned how to be a leader in The Last Jedi, and then, of course... But, he technically was already a leader. He was leading his own squad in The Force Awakens. He was black leader. It was a different part of the, military or whatever. But he still was a leader. People looked up to him. People respected him. And he was always wanting to do good. And he had that, I feel like he had that feeling. Maybe he would just learn to control it a little bit, but I just feel like the way he was in his personality and everything in The Force Awakens, I don't see how much that changed when we got to The Rise of Skywalker. Same way with Finn. I think once he realized that the First Order is evil, and I don't want to be a part of that. I mean, he was trying to run for the first two movies. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in this year gap, he realized that he wasn't, he couldn't run, that he had to fight. So I don't know. Again, his personality and stuff like that, I feel like it was the same. So there's a little bit of growth there. And again, maybe it has to do with only it being a year removed, timeline wise from The Last Jedi. But I just feel like their mindset and personalities and the meaning of what their perception of what's happening at the time just stayed relatively the same, in my opinion. That's Rey's. I think was different. I think she had a bigger arc and a bigger journey, and that's what the story was about. But it was a little different for those two. I think, even though I do like the characters, I just don't think they served a big supporting role like the other ones did in the other movies.
I think it's definitely fair. I mean, I think it's a fair assessment. I don't think you're off base. I mean, the only thing as far as with Han's character arc that I think it could be perceived as like he kind of fizzles out is honestly after A New Hope, when he comes back, saves the day.
Yeah.
And in Empire, he's kind of the same after he saves the day, pretty much through Empire until you see him when he comes out of Carbonite. I think you could say that when he is in that war room in Return of the Jedi and leading the attack, that's when he's, like you're saying, he's very different. So, I mean, you could say that Han doesn't really have a lot of character growth in between there, in between, the end of 4 and end of 6. But, I mean, I don't think that every character has to be a round character. That's why they're round and flat characters, otherwise every character would be a protagonist. And obviously this movie focuses on Ben and Rey.
That's why I'm not so mad about Finn in this last one, because he doesn't have much of a story.
Right.
But he still matters to the story. That's why I don't care too much about him being force sensitive, because I don't think he needed that. I think they kind of like just threw him something to make him relevant. But that's why he was such a problem for Last Jedi, is because he didn't do anything for the story. Really, that could have just easily been someone else. But but I mean, yeah, he actually did stuff that mattered though in this last film, which was an improvement for me.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, but again, he's kind of along for the ride, kind of thing, in this and whatnot. So, all right, Cody. Now, just we kind of gave our overall impression. Your overall review impression of the Rise of Skywalker, and kind of where that falls within your rankings, and not full rankings, but just where does it land, kind of the top, middle, bottom of your list?
Oh, okay. Yeah, full rankings be tough. I may have to sit on it for a minute. But just overall sort of thoughts. And I love the movie. I think it's great. I think what is we've already kind of touched on is that it felt like it had the somewhat indescribable tone of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And to try to describe it, I'd say that they took this group of characters that seemingly would not be together and put them on an adventure where they had to overcome evil, and goodness prevailed, and they showed that redemption is possible. That's how, if I could try to sum up Star Wars in a sort of crude way, I feel like that would be it for me, and this movie did that. I just loved that group dynamic. I mean, the first half of the movie just feels like this fun. It's got heart, and it makes me laugh at times. And then there's times when it's sad and makes me, tear up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it makes me root for Ben when he's running in at the end and he's, trying to save the day.
Yeah, totally.
So I feel like it hit all the emotional beats. It just had a lot of heart. So yeah, that's my non-long-winded sort of review.
So what, top, middle, or bottom list of the list?
Let's see. This is hard. So just start with the sequel movies. I will say, if it's not already evident, I like it more than I like The Last Jedi. I know it's becoming the weird barometer now. I don't want to pit the two movies against each other too much more, but I do like it more than that. It's really hard for me to rank this with Force Awakens because it almost like The Phantom Menace back in the day, whereas The Phantom Menace is definitely not my favorite movie. It hit a time where it was just exciting to really like Star Wars and be a fan. So it's going to be really hard to overcome that Force Awakens spot for me.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie, like, I loved Return of the Jedi as a kid. And I think, like a lot of people, everybody loves to see the ending. Everyone loves to see Luke winning. Everyone loves, the moment when Luke, salutes R2 and jumps off the plank and catches his lightsaber. And to me, this movie had those kind of moments. You've got, Ben flipping over the Knights of Ren and just being a Jedi. Like, so I'd say it's probably top or bottom of top to middle at least. I need to see it more and give it time before I can probably actually slot it in. I mean, it's not like, I don't know, it would be easy to say it's my favorite right now because it's the one that I want to watch next, but I don't think I can really rank it justly. I like it better than Solo. I think I like it better than Rogue One at the moment. So of all the new movies, it's right up there with Force Awakens for me.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it fluctuates on my list, but I haven't come up with my full
Most
list
people,
yet.
I feel like, put it around 5 or 6.
I know. I think it's kind of middle of the road for most people right now. Here's the thing: is what I'm discovering. I feel like when I'm looking on social media is that it's actually, there is a divide for this film. Like, there's a lot of people that like it. There's a lot of people that don't like it. But I feel like there's not a lot of hate like there was for Last Jedi. Like, people that didn't like The Last Jedi, I mean, flat out hated it and let you know about it.
Well,
I don't know if I'm hearing that much. I mean, I'm hearing a little bit. I don't know if you're seeing differently.
I'm getting a little depressed about reading just all of everybody nitpicking this movie to death and just really trashing Disney and really trashing JJ and Lucasfilm. It's sad, but I mean, people feel the way they want to feel. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I mean, it was flat out disturbing with Last Jedi. I feel like
there's no bullying with this. At least I don't think.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean, probably. That's probably what I mean.
There's no abuse.
Yes.
I don't believe.
Last Jedi, I think, got abusive. Got very abusive.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, going after Kelly Marie Tran and going after all these actors and Ryan Johnson, of course. Now Ryan didn't put up with it. He fought back.
Yeah.
But this one, it was a little different, and JJ's not on social really, so he's not even responding.
He is, but he's not.
Yeah,
yeah. He's only ever tweeted the first day of production,
2 pictures,
and then never tweeted another picture ever again. That was like the biggest lie ever. We got Ron Howard's daily diary, like throwing away his trash on set, and then JJ just give us one photo.
Yeah,
but
Favreau's good.
I think it's cool that there's less hate. I like that. We have a group of friends that are into film, and one of them really loves The Last Jedi. He's a great guy. I love his opinions on it, and he doesn't like this movie as much. And so they sometimes we'll all discuss, and they'll nitpick the plot and talk about Chris Terrio is the writer. I think is one thing that you could look at, and if you wanted to find some issues with any movie has issues, this isn't a perfect movie,
right?
And then it always stems back to is the problems with maybe the sequels or this movie in particular not connecting to The Last Jedi. Does it stem to someone over the creators? Like, it kind of comes back to, I have seen it brought up a lot with Kathleen Kennedy again. I know it was a thing that got brought up in the past, and a lot of people sort of got over that and realized that she's obviously this decorated producer and very smart and savvy. but just the fact that Palpatine was JJ's idea. I think that's been confirmed since then.
Yeah,
is
definitely
kind of a problem for the whole sequel trilogy that the main bad guy wasn't Kathleen Kennedy's directive or someone who created the Force Awakens from the onset. I think that's a problem, but I mean that's a problem that nobody can really fix, and it's just a part of it.
Yeah, I don't know. How does it think about that one? Whether or not that, what that, if people, I mean, because I think, I feel like everybody was excited when they heard Palpatine laugh in the trailer when it got right. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, they say we're at Celebration.
Well, I mean, online, I don't remember hearing anybody.
I heard some people, say they're like, really, Palpatine's back. Like they couldn't think of anybody else. Like, kind of a thing. Like it's old news. But no, I'm glad. I think it makes complete sense that he's back, and they could have woven it better. But as I told people offline, is that what is presented in the movie for me works. If you want to look really deep into some of the holes canon wise, you'll things need to be explained, should be explained, but they don't have to be explained for you to make sense of this movie. Like, where's Palpatine been? Why is he back? Well, it doesn't matter. He's back, so let's deal with it. And other things like that. There are some bigger issues that might make you pause and think about it, but again, it's like it happened, so it doesn't not make sense in a way. It's just like it's a mystery behind it. So you can have mystery surrounding it, but you can't have plot holes. I don't. I mean, I'm not looking too hard. This is also the thing, but I don't see plot holes necessarily, because to me, I was able to follow everything that played through this movie. Nothing happened that stopped me, made me think like that doesn't make any sense, and I'm lost. So for that, I love this. That's why I love this movie so much, and because it just worked for me so much. Yeah,
Palpatine's involvement in this movie makes total sense, and starting it from the get-go, the first scene with him is scary and interesting and awesome, I think. More so what I was talking about, and I don't want to harp on it because it kind of gets into a Last Jedi conversation, is just that I think some people's problems that I've read, sort of quick takes on it, is that his inclusion in this movie isn't set up at all in The Last Jedi. And because of that, like, it's a little bit of that sort of problem with this movie fitting in with the movie that came before it. But that could be a whole conversation for another time.
Yeah. Because he is mentioned in The Last Jedi.
Palpatine is, yes.
Darth Sidious is.
Yeah.
Yes. So he is mentioned. Yeah. Which could, be that little hint at, foreshadowing a little bit. But I think the only I honestly think the only way, not the only way, but I think the main reason why it works, again, this is a whole other conversation, the only reason why I think it really works is that Rey is a Palpatine. Because if you knew she was let's just say you knew she was a Palpatine, you find out she's a Palpatine in Force Awakens, then there would be that kind of I think that underlining wonder or speculation of whether or not he will return or he is around, right? I mean, because if she wasn't part of that, then I don't know if it really didn't make that much sense. But,
worse for me would be if Palpatine was in, if Palpatine's in Rise of Skywalker, and if Rey wasn't a Palpatine.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, then like the opposite. It's like if I thought you were saying like if Rey was revealed to be a Palpatine in Force Awakens, but Palpatine never showed up, that also would be
that weird. That would be weird too, right? Yeah. I'm just saying
both together work.
Yes,
very well.
Yes, yes, very much so. Yeah. Okay, so more to come on that in the coming weeks. We've got more topics to talk about, but good to get Cody's take on the whole Ben Solo kind of thing. That's his superhero now, I feel like.
Ben Solo shrugging with a lightsaber is my spirit animal.
Yeah, nice. Okay, I do want to close on this real quick. I want to get everybody's opinion on this. Normally, each year, Casey, we've actually done a kind of a look back on the year when each year starts, like what we've got, what we enjoyed from the year. We don't really have the time to dedicate that. I don't want to wait till February to do a look back because we're going to be talking about Rise of Skywalker this month. So we'll just do a quick one right now where looking back at 2019 and the year that was in Star Wars. Now, just to run through some great things that happened. Obviously, we got The Mandalorian, the first live action series, TV series from Star Wars. That dropped. Of course, Jedi Fallen Order dropped, the first game in this canon that was kind of single player. Star Wars Celebration happened in Chicago in April of 2019. Star Wars Resistance launched its second season. You had Galaxy's Edge open in both Disneyland and Disney World, which I went to. Yeah. And Cody, you went too, right? Did you make it or no? I don't know if you did or not. Did you?
I wasn't able to do Galaxy's Edge this trip. We had a wedding. My sister-in-law got married, so there's a lot that was going on. I was bummed to not be able to go. But I did go down to the sort of formerly Downtown Disney Springs, the Star Wars Outpost, sported my new Baby Yoda shirt.
Yes.
That I got for Christmas. Nice. And I got a lot of people were commenting, wanting to know where I got it. Kids were just pointing and saying Baby Yoda. So Baby Yoda was alive and well in Florida. So
nice. We got some books, obviously, this year. We got Resistance Reborn. We got the Myths and Legends from George Mann, which was a very popular book this year. Queen Shadow came out. I think the Thrawn trilogy ended with Thrawn Treason. Of course, a slew of comics came out. It's just a ton of stuff that came out. The announcement at D23, the announcement that Obi-Wan was coming. Obi-Wan is coming to Disney Plus. You had the VR series that dropped this year. We've all experienced that, right? Cody, did you experience that? Didn't you yet or no?
Vader Immortal.
Yeah.
I still have yet to do it, but I need to jump on that soon because I know you have the Quest, right?
Yes, I've got the Quest and all 3 episodes, so that's
maybe I'll record a little reaction of me facing off with Vader or something.
Oh yeah, that's good. And then of course we got
you get a live look of me peeing my pants.
Yeah. Of course, Disney Plus overall launched with Mandalorian, but then of course all the Star Wars films are on there now except Solo. But then of course we've got the Rise of Skywalker. So just real quick, after all that, I mean, can you pinpoint like just your most favorite memory 2019 Star Wars? Out of all that, like what have you enjoyed or what do you remember most? I'll go first because I thought about this already if you want. By far, no matter how much I really have enjoyed the Vader VR series. I thought that was really neat to the point that I bought a Quest and really enjoyed that. Love Jedi Fallen Order. Still play it to this day. Still so much I want to complete it 100%. Rise of Skywalker, I love it. Mandalorian, I love it. But by far, my most memorable time probably will always be time spent at Celebration. And particularly when we saw that trailer drop in that room with that many people. I mean, it took us looking back at the photos to see how many people were actually in that room. It was ridiculous. And I honestly enjoyed that better than being in the actual room where the stars were. Sitting there around with you guys and around all the other fans that were there
Yeah.
around that stage at Star Wars show and seeing that trail. I mean, they played it twice, and I mean, I was teary, man.
Yeah.
It was by far, out of all the trailers I've seen at Celebration getting debuted, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rogue One, all those, that one by far, I will never forget that last year. And that was by far my favorite memory from last year.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess this is an easy answer, but I think Rise of Skywalker probably. I guess because I haven't. Maybe if I've been with the Galaxy's Edge, that might be my favorite.
That's up there for me too.
Yeah,
really, that's probably number 2. Honestly.
Yeah, I feel like I would have just. I don't know. Gosh,
building a lightsaber was pretty awesome.
I can't even imagine how I will react walking through and experiencing it in real world, real life. But no, Rise of Skywalker, it's just, because as we've been saying, it just kind of did everything I was hoping it would do. Like you, Cody, were saying, I was hit with every emotional kind of effect they wanted you to feel. So like I laughed, I cried, and I was tense when you wanted to feel tense, So the movie worked, for me, and it puts me in a good place moving forward for where I think Star Wars could go in the stories after. And I'm thinking generally if we get the High Republic stuff, but also chronologically, I'm very excited with where Star Wars can go after Rise of Skywalker. So it's a great way to end the year and the decade is with this movie, and hopefully they'll find out what those stories are post Rise of Skywalker. But makes me very excited for what is to come. The next one, knowing, is the Obi-Wan show. So it's just like I'm just excited for these next stories. Mm-hmm.
Those are good ones. Those are really good ones.
I feel like
this is a little bit hard. I mean, I feel like some of my favorite things, both of what you guys said were great. Memories that stand out. I feel like honestly at Celebration, the night before watching Rise of Skywalker, we're all sitting around, we're just hanging out, a couple of sort of drinking beers. We're talking about Last Jedi, and we're talking about Snoke, and somebody just mentions either you or Casey or was it Adam or somebody starts talking about Dark Empire, and somebody's like, "What if Palpatine comes back?" And like, I feel like it was either Adam or somebody mentioned it first, and then we all just start sort of riffing, and then the next day we watch that trailer, and it's like you see you see the camera move on Rey, and you're like, okay, JJ's got this because it's this old school filmmaking style, and then we hear Palpatine's laugh, and we all look at each other like, is this actually happening? And like, I don't know, that payoff of, like you said, Dave, of being with sort of your friends and other Star Wars fans and having that moment was amazing, and then just topped by the fact that we were all sort of goofing off talking about the what ifs of what could happen. I feel like that's probably like Celebration for anybody that's ever wanted to go. It kind of stands out even a little bit more than seeing the movie.
I know.
In my mind,
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I was just gonna say I've been to every Celebration practically since the third one, and it's just a different experience. It's especially when you go with obviously people you care about, and you're just enjoying Star Wars. I mean, it's a chance to just enjoy Star Wars, and there's the electricity that's there, the compassion that's there. It's and you can tell that celebrities that are showing up there, they can just feel it, when they're walking on the stage, and it's just so exciting. Not only that, it also you get just exclusive things to look at and collect, and yes, you're right. Galaxy's Edge was easy 1A for me from last year too, just being around there and looking around that. But I would have probably put it number 1 if I had been there with probably you guys. It's a little different when you're going with your family, and of course my daughters loved it, which that really made it special. But I wasn't able to geek out as much as I probably would have with you guys, because we probably would have messed around with the stormtroopers and stuff like that. But no, Celebration though, yeah, it's hard to top Celebration if that happens in the year that everything else happens, because it's just such an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say the other thing I'd just like to add sort of to my list of like top Star Wars moments. I mean, there was tons of great content out there, but a little bit more of a personal note. This year was a kind of big for me and my family. Growing a family, we adopted a little boy, and we're getting these things like these Star Wars swaddles and Yoda printed swaddles, and wrapping him up in a little Yoda swaddle and just sort of sitting there with him and either scrolling through like Star Wars content or just throwing the movie on. It just kind of reminds me of like Star Wars is about family.
Yeah.
And, being young and, in my family, Star Wars was kind of big, even like my mom's into it, and she's like talking to me about the movies and stuff. So, that was just kind of on a more personal sort of, sharing Star Wars with family. You'd kind of mention that, and I just feel like that's kind of always a highlight,
It's great. I mean, right now, like we sit, me, my wife, my 2 daughters, we sit and watch Mandalorian together. I mean, it's fantastic. Now, just wait, Cody, when your little boy goes to Disney and hugs Chewbacca for the first time, you're gonna weep like like crazy. So it's fun. It's fun to see that kind of stuff. All right, so that's it for this episode. I appreciate everybody listening and hearing us talk about that. I will mention too, because I forgot to mention this at the beginning, as of today, which is January 8th, the Rise of Skywalker has taken in $936,302 worldwide.
Awesome.
So it will cross that $1 billion mark. And I just want to say, in this first phase, if you you can call it the first phase of Disney Star Wars films, right? The 5 films. Did a little calculation. The 5 films total have grossed Disney $5.786 billion. Needless to say, just in that film franchise, they've profited from their
from the buyout.
From the buyout.
Yeah. Would they buy it for $4 billion?
$4 billion.
Yeah. Well, they're already in the green.
I know. Now this, if so obviously, if I divide that by 5, it's an over average of $1 billion per movie, right? Which I would say that's highly successful.
Yes,
definitely. Any movie hitting $1 billion, even with the failure apparently of Solo, which brings that average down, obviously, because Solo only grossed $392 million worldwide. So if you take that out, you take the 300 out of there, it's 5.4 amongst 4 movies, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hate to keep hearing, especially from Disney, that they're disappointed and a little bit, and they can't be fully disappointed.
We gotta slow down.
Yeah, like really. So
you don't want to make money?
Exactly.
Okay.
You don't want to make a movie every year, make $1 billion every year. It's like, okay, whatever.
Oh, we're getting episode 10. It's just a matter of time.
Wow, you think we're getting episode 10?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to derail us right now, but I feel like you said, they want to make money. 10 will make money. They'll do it. Wow. I'm not saying it's going to be the next movie.
Yeah.
But they're going to do it.
Maybe, I might be long gone by the time they start.
The search for Ben Solo.
Yeah. Interesting.
Still alive.
Wow, that is a episode we'll dive into. What is there gonna be in episode 10? That's good. Thanks everybody for listening. That will do it for us this week. Next week again, we'll get somebody else on here and continue our Rise of Skywalker discussion with some even bigger topics. I still have topics to go over, like the Knights of Ren and 3PO and this whole thing about the dyad. That's something I want to dive into more because I need to do some more research on exactly what that means. But of course, we'll continue that, and we'll get into more stuff as February hits up. We'll definitely be talking Clone Wars. Clone Wars is going to be. I'm so pumped. I am so excited. Clone Wars is coming back. Then of course, Mandalorian. We're hitting us season 2 this fall, so lots of stuff coming still this year. Celebration's going to be here in August again, so we'll keep you up on that. But thanks everybody. 2020 is off to a great start. Thanks for Cody showing up on here.
Yeah, of course. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say Reylo is now finally canon.
Yes.
So I see all you Reylos on the internet. Keep it up.
Even if it was only for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Even if it was just for that one kiss, it's worth it.
That's right. Okay. All right. Thanks, Cody.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
For Casey Cooley.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm Dave Cottingham. May the force be with you.